Of course, child care is too expensive. Everybody up here wants less expensive child care. Mm-hmm. Everybody up here supports children in prosperity, too. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a rational way to go about it. It's probably not the way Congress will go about it, but it is a rational way. There's some things you can't quantify. You can't quantify the self well-being of having a job. I don't care how much money government gives you. Mm-hmm. You can't quantify the feeling of self-worth that a person receives from being gainfully employed and supporting his or her family and being a meaningful part of his community. Follow me here.
Senator, I would like to add one thing.
Sure.
I've been in my business for over 45 years. I'm in a small business community. I know every one of my employees, and I can quantify with them, when I look them in the eye, what a good job means.
Right.
And I watch them cry when they can't come to work because they don't have childcare.
I understand. So there's a part of this you can't quantify, in my opinion. I meant what I said earlier. A person without a job is not healthy, that person's not happy, and that person is not free. And yeah, government can give you a cell phone, but you're going to feel much better about yourself if you earn the money to buy a cell phone. Okay? There is a part of this you can quantify. A rational approach, therefore, would be to say, okay, if government subsidized the cost of child care in America, what would that mean in terms of GDP? How many additional people would go to work? How many fewer lost my child is sick days would we have in America? What would be the impact on productivity? All that can be quantified. And you take that number, the cost, or the benefit rather, and you compare it to the cost. And if the benefit substantially outweighs the cost, you would go forward. The question would then become, how do you pay for it? Well, if we say this is a priority, a meaningful place to start, if you respect taxpayer dollars, and we all do, is to say, okay, we're going to comb through our budget. We're going to basically scrub our budget before we just go borrow more money and try to find out what in our current budget is a lower priority than affordable child care. We never do that. Mm-hmm. We never do that. I mean, we just don't do that. Neither side does that. When we put together a budget, Mr. Bowen, we don't do it like you do at your business. Our fight over a budget is how much extra money we're going to give to the bureaucracy every year. We don't have any metrics. In the real world, if you're doing a lousy job, you get fired. In government, if you're doing a lousy job, it must mean that you don't have enough money, so we give you more money. That's the way it works. Let me just finish my thought. So that would be a rational play. And then once we really try to scrub the budget and find the money, then if it's not enough, given our other competing priorities, we could talk about, well, is this something that we ought to add on an operating expense and borrow money? That would be a rational way. But that's not what is before us. What is before us, let me just take the President's Build Back Better plan. You know what the child care provision is and that would cost? $75 billion a year. What do you think that's going to do to inflation? And that's not $75 billion that we could find by scrubbing the budget. That's not touching the budget. Nobody wants to touch the budget. We just want to add to it. We don't even have 5% of $75 billion. We got to go borrow that. Do you see the problem? I don't think anybody has, at least I don't have, a problem with the end result. with the objective here. But the answer is not just to say, oh, okay, we'll just add $75 billion a year extra to our operating account based on the assumption that all the money we're spending right now is well spent, and yeah, we'll just borrow more. That's not the answer. And it wasn't the answer before inflation, but let me tell you what will happen right now if we go past Build Back Better. And there's some good things in Build Back Better. You know the impact of that on inflation? You think 8.5% inflation is high? Get ready for 15% inflation. And that's the problem. Anyway, that's the end of my speech.